Tonight, we're going in depth on the 2026 race for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. We don't know yet if current Superintendent Ryan Walters is even running for a second term or another job. But if he wants to be reelected to the job he has now, he will have to fend off a challenge from Bixby Superintendent Rob Miller. Miller joined me in studio to talk unedited about the changes he wants to make in Oklahoma schools. Joining me unedited in his own words is Bixby Superintendent Rob Miller. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about everybody who runs for office has a I got to get off the couch moment. What was the moment where you said, I can't sit there anymore, I've got to get in the game?
Well, as people know, I was a former Marine Corps officer, and they kind of train us from when we're young to when you see a problem, solve a problem. Don't just sit on the sidelines if you feel like you can make a difference. And this is one of those cases where I feel like, based on the current state of public education in Oklahoma, that we need somebody who's going to be decisive, who can get in there, that has the experience and leadership to make a difference. And if I didn't think I could make a difference, I wouldn't be making this run. But I do believe that, given my background in education and leadership, my connections across the state, my ability to form alliances and work with other people, will make me a great state superintendent.
I know you're saying you're not running against Ryan Walters, and we don't even know if he's running. So,
correct.
But how would you define the past 2 years under his tenure?
Well, I think everyone would say it's been chaotic. And so what we have to do is get leadership back in place that's going to put kids over the politics and can put teachers over talking points and results over rhetoric, because we recognize that Oklahoma public education has room for improvement, and we've got to work together for that. And so all of the noise and politics associated over the past 2 years with public ed in Oklahoma has to go away, and we have to get the focus back on kids, because they're the future of Oklahoma and they're our most important resource, and we have to get the focus on them.
I know what some of his supporters will say is, yes, there is sex stuff in school. Yes, there has been some wild stuff. Mm-hmm. The word woke is thrown around. Walters called you woke. Right. What is your response to, yes, there are some things that happen in schools that are wild?
Of course, and I'm the first one to say that school leaders, teachers have to be accountable for the things we do well as the mistakes that we make. And so nothing will really change, it'll just happen behind. So if a school administrator or teacher or school employee does something that's outside the bounds, violates our trust in education, then they'll be dealt with, and decisively. But it doesn't have to happen in public. It doesn't have to happen in such a vocal way, because what that does is it generalizes that all schools or all teachers are this way. And we're just like any other profession. We've got a large number of fantastic employees who have the right mission in place and are really focused on kids. And then we have a few that make mistakes because they're humans. And those people need to be held accountable and will continue to be held accountable if I'm in charge.
Was it tough getting in the race as a Republican, not knowing the Republican incumbent may or may not be running against you?
Not really. I've been a registered Republican since I was 18 years old. Voted for my first president, Ronald Reagan, in 1980. So that hasn't changed over time. I am typically very conservative. I like fiscal conservatism. I believe in accountability and making sure that we're efficient. And so in terms of school districts, I run Bixby Public Schools with a fantastic team, and we focus on how can we do this job better with as few resources as possible, but also recognizing that sometimes if we really want something to happen, we have to invest in it. We really have to put the attention there to get the results that we want.
You talked about your team, and that was actually my next question is, are you taking a sabbatical next year because you have to campaign throughout the entire state, or are you going to stay on board and mix in weekends and long nights? And
no, that was part of my announcement 2 weeks ago, is I will have publicly stated my retirement effective June 30th of this year. So I will take a little bit of time to rest and relax, recuperate for what I'm sure will be a very challenging and difficult race, but then I'm going to hit it hard, 110%, because our state means too much, our kids mean too much, and we need to get this turned around as quickly as possible.
We know the employers and the businesses are looking at reading and math scores. Do you have a plan to address the reading and math deficiencies? I think 1 in 4 aren't even are only proficient.
And that's a very complex question, very difficult to do just in an interview, but it starts with a couple things. One, getting all the right people at the table. And right now we're too divided. So we have to get the State Department, the governor, the legislature, schools, school leaders, families, teachers, all talking the same thing. How do we improve educational outcomes for students? And how do we make sure that they're ready for the jobs of the 21st century? And we've kind of lost focus of that because of politics. And then we have to make sure that our teachers are supported, not just personal compensation, but the resources that they need, the technology, learning materials, in order to maximize learning in their classrooms. And then we really have to work with families and understand that kids are different, kids' learning needs are different, and how do we work together to have the best outcomes we can for kids.
Where do you stand on, it seems like OSDE has Bibles. Where are you on the Bible in the classroom issue? As far as, do you think we need to change course from that, or do we continue to incorporate it in? How are you handling the Bible issue? I know it's multi-layers. It's more complex than a club sandwich. But do you think we need to change course on that?
I think, and I've spoken pretty frequently about this particular issue. I know the Bibles are being delivered. We received one in Bixby the other day. But having a Bible in every classroom really doesn't make sense. I can understand it, just like Mr. Walters, when there are specific content standards for that include the Bible, and have that as a resource for teachers. But I've yet to hear him with a good explanation for why we would need it in a kindergarten classroom, a 7th grade math classroom, a chemistry classroom. So there, as a Christian myself, I worry that we're taking the Bible, the holy word of God, and simply reducing it to a classroom prop. And I don't want to see that at all. I want to make sure that we're focused on the important things, which is the academic standards and making sure that students have the supports they need for success.
Real quick, anything you'd like the voters to know? Let's say they've never met you before. What do you want them to know?
Well, I know there's a lot of folks out there that are concerned about education in our state. I'm concerned as well. The teachers I speak with are concerned. They want higher outcomes for kids, and that's going to be our focus from day one when I get in here, is fixing the challenges that we have first at the State Department, and then working across this great state to figure out what we need to do next to get the outcomes that we deserve. Because again, as I said, our kids are the future of the state. We're never going to be a top 10 state unless we can bring our education system to that same level.
Superintendent, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. We'll be watching the campaign.